I wish I could tell you that I want you here with me, but you'll never love me like the way we used to be. Too far from Saturn, lost in the patterns. Where's the stars aligned so we could be free? Palms are sweaty, knees unsteady. I can't see my head on straight. Heart is heavy, wasn't ready. Don't think I can see your face. Now we're just friends. How long's a day?
Hello and welcome back, I'm Sean, and today we're going to take a look why the Samsung S25 Ultra is the phone that you need to get. So let's check it out. So this time around we're looking at the S25 Ultra and we're going to have a different perspective, and it's mainly why do you need to get the S25 Ultra, and there is a lot to like about this phone and very little wrong with it. Again, it's really hard to be improving on something that is already a great phone. Sprinkle in a flagship chipset and you get something quite special. So starting with the performance you get with the S25 Ultra, everything works great with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite. Playing high demand games is great, camera performance is great, and there's overall very few kinks when using this device. And another thing that is great about this phone is its display, and the Ultra gets a really bright and beautiful display with the QHD Plus resolution. Really ups the game with this phone, and using it in most situations in my day-to-day seems to hold up pretty nicely. Of course, this won't be an Ultra phone if we don't talk about the camera performance, and with additional lenses on top of the base S25 as well as the new ultra wide camera lens, you're really getting the best in class when it comes to camera performance. We'll look into more camera performance later on in this video. What I really like about this phone is the long battery life you get with this phone, and it's also getting the largest battery in the series. Accompanying that with very optimized use of battery in the Samsung OS, you're getting a very efficient combination. And similar to the base S25, you're also getting a whole bunch of AI features that makes this phone that much nicer and smarter to use. And although it might be a gimmick to use at first, but I think these are features that will really come in handy over time, especially when it's now added into image editing apps, search engines, and basically throughout the entire UI. So what could be better? And I think one of the biggest problems is where Samsung have now removed a Bluetooth feature in the S Pen, and as you have might seen Jerry Rig Everything video on the S Pen teardown, you will see that it lacks a Bluetooth and as well as the battery, which makes the usage of the S Pen less functional to many. Probably it's Samsung's way of selling you something else. And if anything, again, I wish the battery capacity you get with this Ultra is bigger. Yes, from the battery life test it still works great, however only getting 5000 mAh in a flagship 6.9-inch phone seems kinda small. And to be honest, although it's a great device, for the very minimal enhancements you get over last year's flagship, it's really quite an expensive device to own. And with that said, the S25 Ultra starts at 5,999 Malaysian ringgit and goes upwards of 7,799 for the 1TB model. And if you find value in what you hear and like what you see so far, do subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell so that YouTube algorithm can pick this up. And if you want to buy the S25 Ultra, do check out my links below. Okay, so if you're used to large phones, then the S25 Ultra is right at home. Now with a slimmer bezel makes the screen feel larger and more immersive, and I do like the small design of the S25 base model, but there's just something about holding a large phone that feels, you know, substantial. And this year you're also still getting a QHD Plus screen at 3120 by 1440, making this a 2K screen, and you're upgraded from a 6.8-inch to now a 6.9-inch dynamic AMOLED 2X display, giving you a dynamic refresh rate of 1 to 120 Hz and a 10-bit screen. Also with this QHD Plus display comes with Pro Scaler, so the phone will help upscale footage of videos and images to suit the QHD Plus screen. So output is noticeably sharper if you're comparing between the base and the Ultra, but if you're just using it on its own without comparing, both screens actually looks a lot similar. So far, I really love watching content on this huge screen, and it really feels immersive and large. I also like the fact that you don't get much of a black bar when watching movies on this as compared to phones like the Samsung Fold, since most movies and videos still fit fairly nicely in a 16:9 screen. And on the front of the Ultra is now an upgraded Corning Gorilla Armor 2, which is meant to be significantly stronger. And of course, we won't be testing this out right now, but do check out Jerry Rig Everything for a scratch test on this screen. As I'm aware, the Armor 2 is only on the front glass, and I don't think that is mentioned on the rear glass, but it's probably Victus 2. If you know, do let me know in the comment section below. And this year, you're still getting the same 5000 mAh battery, and I really wish the battery could be bigger and stronger since many other phones in the market have gone with much larger battery capacity. But fortunately, Samsung optimized the battery performance and usage here, and here is my test results. With the Ultra battery running at full brightness and high resolution, the phone performed much better than the S25 base model as expected. And after 4 hours, the phone's battery dropped to about 81% battery, which in comparison to the S25 base seems to drain faster, and by the time you reach the 12 hours mark, I still have 52% battery left, which is more lasting than the S25 base already. So continuing down to the 20-hour mark where the S25 base model died, the Ultra still at 19% battery left, and this went on to 4% at the 23-hour mark. Finally, the phone died at 23 hours and 44 minutes, which is almost 4 hours longer than the S25 base model. And the good news here is when your battery is drained, you get to quickly charge it up using a fast charger, since the S25 Ultra supports 45 watts of wired fast charging. And if you prefer wireless charging, it also supports a maximum of 15 watts wireless charging. And since we're getting the same flagship Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset here in the S25 Ultra as to the smaller base model, I think you can expect similar quality when we're talking about the Ultra model. Here you also get the same 12GB LPDDR5X RAM, which provides you with really good performance in my opinion, and you get to game with it with no problems as well. And similarly here you also get octa-core chipsets that runs upwards of 4.47 GHz but split between two types, so 2 cores run 4.47 and another 6 cores running at 3.53 GHz. So running in the Snapdragon 8 Elite is also the Adreno 830 GPU, which makes playing games very nice and smooth with quick performance, and playing games like PUBG feels good and I can max it out similarly at Ultra HD graphics and Ultra frame rate. No problems at all, the game runs smooth, no lags, no jerks. However, similar to the base 25, I still don't get to play it at 120 frames per second. With the S25 Ultra, you get to choose between 256, 512 and 1TB of UFS 4.0 storage. So if you are a power user and does a lot of video editing on your phone, then the 1TB model is for you, and this is not available on the base model. Also with the Ultra, you can also run any formats on the YouTube app, so you can play upwards of 8K UHD with HDR, so you can also play a 4K 60 frames per second with HDR and they look great. And because this is a 10-bit screen, if you view content shot using a 10-bit camera, it looks beautiful and very nice, an experience you don't get with even your own eyes. So design with these phones, pretty subjective, because I know friends who only use large phones and some friends who hates large phones, so I guess it all boils down to your own personal preference, and that's where I think the phone industry lacks here. Why do we only get pro cameras on the larger models, and if I want the pro features but on a smaller form factor, that's just not something we can get. So using the phone daily isn't much of a problem for me since I'm used to using a larger form factor phone, and my typical use case is usually two-handed, and when I notice I rarely use my phone single-handed when typing or swiping away. So in most day-to-day situations, I intuitively grab my phone with two hands and I can just use them like that, so I just move around with two hands. So reaching for stuff on screen really isn't much of a problem for me. And at the front of the screen, you're going to be greeted with the large 6.9-inch screen and also a front-facing camera. Similarly, you get buttons on the right side, and at the bottom here you're going to get your Type-C charging port, your speaker grill, your SIM tray, as well as the S Pen. So at the back of the phone is a 5-camera setup, and at the top here is your new 50MP ultra-wide camera. The middle one is the 200MP wide main camera. Below that is also the 50MP 5x telephoto zoom and also a 10x optical zoom, and also a 10MP 3x zoom. So the entire back of the phone is really smooth, and since it's made out of glass, the whole phone feels really smooth and slippery, so I definitely recommend using a case to go with this phone. The Ultra is also significantly heavier compared to the base S25, where that feels more like a lightweight phone. The Ultra on the other hand feels premium and substantial, coming in a weight of 218 grams. So do take note that this size phone and weight will create a slight bulge and also snag on your pants pocket. So to the part which I'm most excited about with this pro grade camera phone. So what's new and what's good about this camera? So well, basically the only thing new here is this 50MP ultra wide lens you get with this S25 Ultra. When you click into the 50MP mode, you will now see the option to go into 0.6x instead of the standard 1x, and in my test, you do see slight improvements in the resolution of the image. Is it night and day difference? Perhaps if you pixel peep, but from a standard picture look and feel, the image looks great in both 12MP or 50MP mode, and of course in the 50MP mode, you're going to get better resolution when zoomed in. And on top of that, I think camera performance here is also much more improved, where you also get less obvious chromatic aberration with the new Ultra, where you don't get that weird pink tinge and you get on the older camera lens. Next, let's look into the main wide 200MP lens in its 12MP configuration. I think it's already already capturing a lot more details as compared to the 12 megapixel configuration on the 50 megapixel S25 base model. So if you punch in really far buildings, you do see a lot more details and compared to the S25. Foreground performance here is also sharper and more defined than the softer looks of the S25. Same goes to the 200 megapixel mode, where really distant objects are more defined than the S25 50 megapixel mode, and unless you really want details at that level and you really want the pixel peep, else if you use it as a standard picture standpoint, it's really just too small to a difference to notice without really going to pixel peep. So let's talk about the zoom feature with the S25 Ultra. Starting with the wide angle shot, you can see the gorgeous details you get with this phone, beautiful contrast, HDR performance, and going through the standard optical zoom range such as 3x, 5x, and 10x all looks great. Even when you punch in at 30x, it still looks good, but you start to lose a bit of resolution, and also there isn't really a true use case to be using it at this zoom range, and also the 100x zoom range is really more of a novelty than any true purpose, since the quality you get with this zoom range isn't anything amazing. So the phone natively generates quite a pleasing bokeh without having the need to go into portrait mode, and I find it's pleasing and natural. And if you use the portrait mode, you get to control the aperture, and although it looks great, the photos look stunning with the blur background. It tends to be unnatural when you're using it in portrait mode. But I must say the ability to crop out edges in portrait mode is really something else in the S25 Ultra, so that's very impressive. So macro mode is also something you get with the S25 Ultra, where you don't get it on the base model, and although there is a workaround to get macro shots on the base model, it's just not the same. And with the new 50 megapixel ultra wide lens, macro shots are now more capable, generating more details, and they just simply look gorgeous with that bokeh it generates at the back as well. Night mode is also impressive in my opinion, and many say that it still doesn't look too good or polished, but I think Samsung's AI does a good job in reducing noise and polishing up images, making photos look surprisingly good in low light performance. And again, videos are great too as well, giving you support upwards of 8K UHD with a resolution of 7680 by 4320 at 30 frames per second and 4K at 60 or 30 frames per second. Similar to the S25 base, if you want to shoot in more pro frame rates such as 24 or 120 frames per second in 4K, then you need to go into pro video mode to access all those frame rates. So sound quality is great with the dual speaker unit on the S25 Ultra. It does get quite loud, but nothing too loud that you need to quickly turn the volume down. And from my test, music isn't that dynamic. It does sound flattish, but it definitely gives you a tad bit more power as compared to the S25. And again, you don't get 3.5mm jacks on most modern phones, so you do rely on wireless earbuds or headphones. Similar codecs are found here with the S25, so you get Bluetooth 5.4, LDAC, aptX, aptX HD, aptX lossless for all your high definition playback, and also AAC and SBC. All in all, I think the focus with the S25 Ultra this year is definitely on the camera as well as all the AI features. And although I did not cover any AI feature here on this video, I'll be doing a separate one talking just about different capabilities of the AI features on the S25 series. But for now, if you want the best flagship features a phone can offer with good camera performance and you need a large beautiful screen, then the S25 Ultra is for you. But if you currently already own the S24 Ultra, then I really see no reasons to upgrade as well. If you want to check out some of the cool AI features now available on the S25 series, then this video right over here is definitely something you need to check out, and I'll see you over at that video.